So my guides were telling me before I started filming that I need to eat. I didn't listen. Almost done. Welcome back, you guys. I'm Tassie, and this is my Shaman Memoirs channel. Now, before we get started, a lot of people always ask about my lipstick, so really quickly, I am wearing MAC. This shade is called Soft Kisses, number 230. And I also top it with a gloss, and this is by DC. This shade is Strawberry Lemonade. Really briefly, I have a lot of makeup, you guys. I have a lot of different lipsticks, and I tend to aim lately more for neutral shades. I don't do really dark shades, but if I ever do, I normally go for like a really dark blue-red. But yeah, all right, so on this episode, we're gonna go right into the questions that were asked of me. And it's kind of funny because sometimes I notice it's a trend. People tend to ask me the same kind of questions around the same time. So this week's question, we're going to be focusing on, so you were told that you have spirit guides and that you're supposed to be a shaman. Now what? A lot of people have been sending me questions, you know, like, I think I have spirit guides, or I was told that I have spirit guides. What am I supposed to do? Any advice for me, etc. So let's get into that. And then towards the end of this video, we're also going to touch base on spirit guides that are locked up. All right, so you are told that you have spirit guides. When you guys are told that you have spirit guides, honestly, it's really up to you. What do you want to do with this information? You know, like, I can give you guys all this information in my videos, but it all falls on you, right? You can choose to totally live your life, okay? It doesn't mean gun-ho out the door, you're gonna be a shaman, you start your whole journey. A lot of times, the other option, if you choose, you know, like the first one is you choose to just live your life like normal, not a problem. You're just going to see what happens in the future. The other route is you really want to go ahead and now start your journey. So we're gonna first touch base on, you're gonna go ahead and start your journey, okay? Really, what's going to happen from here on out, after you've been informed that you have spirit guides, the usual thing that people do, and it's just from history that I know of, what a lot of people tend to do is they go to a few different shamans just to really confirm it, because first off, usually a lot of people, they don't believe it. And then, you know, you're also going to have people who have suspected it. But now that they've finally been told, they actually want to do something about it. You know, so if that is the route you want to go, though, it is not an easy one. You know, like, you know, we've talked about this in my other, like, shaman and teacher videos. It's not really that easy, but let's break it down. So I am going to tie some of this with my own experiences when it comes to, you know, you're told you have spirit guides, you're supposed to be a shaman, now you're going forward with this. So the beginning part is a lot of heavy discussions. You really need to discuss, not only do you really want this for yourself, for your life, are you really ready to be committed and, you know, seeing what this is about? And then you have to talk about the logistics of it all. The money comes into play big time. How much are you willing to drop on becoming a shaman? It ain't free, y'all. And then you have to discuss your housing situation. A lot of people live in apartments. Some people live with other people. And, you know, not everybody is set up and have a house, right? I was very fortunate that I had my own house when this happened. But I can't even imagine if I was in a situation where I lived with someone else. And it's not easy to ask somebody if you can raise a shrine in someone else's home, okay? And there's a lot that goes into that. And I've done a video on, you know, like, if you had to move and you have a shrine up, and why do people typically recommend you not raising one until you actually have a permanent residence. So you need to talk about the logistics. Where is your shrine going to be? Who is going to build your shrine? What would this even entail? How will it look like? How much space do you need? I've seen some impressive shrines, okay, where I'm just standing there like, oh my God. It's like a monument, you know. And then you're going to have more simple, it looks like a bookcase type of shrines. So, you know, you can decide. Some of that is going to depend on your teacher, though. Now, then you're going to even discuss your teacher. Like, finding a teacher, and you guys can talk. I don't care how many shamans you ask. The majority of them will all agree. Finding a teacher, it is such a hurdle. It is such a hurdle. I was very thankful and fortunate in my journey. It was very easy. It was the first person that I went to. That's not going to happen for most people. And then you need to talk, like the support. Are you married? Are you single? Who is really going to help you through this journey? Because unfortunately with shamanism, like when you kind of think about with witchcraft, right? It's witchcraft you can tend to practice on your own, because a lot of it can be self-taught. You can take classes on it. You can even join covens. You can even join other groups that teach about witchcraft and Wicca. Whereas for shamanism in the Hmong community, it's very exclusive. Very exclusive. And I don't know anybody who's ever raised themselves without a teacher and without the support. We've talked about the support in a lot of my videos, whether it is your partner, your family, and your friends. So, that's gonna go hand in hand with your teacher. So, I have a lot of those videos up. You guys can go and check those out as well. But these are real hard logistics that you really need to discuss. And a lot of those discussions really start with those closest to you, and who can you go to for help? Who is going to know how to get you the help that you need? So a lot of times, traditional route, people will seek out the elders in their own clan. So that's what Hmong people tend to do. We seek out the elders in our clan, because they know a lot of people and they know a lot of shamans typically, and then they will point you in the right direction because they want what's best for you. They will try to help protect you. And they may even go to your sessions with you to make sure everything goes well. People love, the people I've known, they love to hear about someone taking an interest in wanting to become a shaman, because a lot of times you're going to find those very elders that you go to, they also have an interest in the shaman community. They also want to have a shaman in the family, and they may even themselves want to become a shaman, so they also want to see this journey with you. So you're also going to see all of these things, okay? But these are real logistics that you need to discuss and figure out. Money-wise, for my particular lineage, the first shrine, that is going to be $100. And then the second shrine, it is going to be $400. The third shrine, an additional $400. This does not include clothing for your teacher, which would be an additional $200. I'm just going to put a caveat here. So, for my own students, when they've reached their third level shrine, right? Usually the student needs to have clothing made for their shaman teacher. These are clothes that they wear to go into the spirit world. So you would go to the Chapua, which is like the flea market here in Minnesota. And so you would go and have your teacher be measured and tailored for an actual outfit. And during the third level shrine, that's typically when you are wearing more of the traditional Hmong garbs. I have seen people wear Hmong dresses and everything, but my own teacher, she just preferred the black basic pants with the black basic shirt. It had the blue lining on it. And then on the back, we have like a square that we wear on the back of our shirts as well. So on the square, there is Hmong stitching and the cross stitch design. So, and then you also have your sashes that you wear as well when you do the oneng. We don't wear the hats of the Hmong costumes that we tend to wear. So like for like the Hmong New Year, etc. We don't wear that. You are wearing your shaman cap during that time. So, my student on the third level would in turn do the same thing for me, because I did that for my own teacher. However, the teacher may also opt for you to just give them $200 cash, which is equivalent to that outfit. Now, none of this includes the cost of animals, the cost of tools, the cost of getting your shrine. Okay, so all of that, it's separate from the fee, okay? I wrote down somewhere once a long time ago how much I spent, but I want to say in total to become My final level shrine, it was $2,000, under $2,000. Now, that is the cost of my teacher, the animals, the food involved, you guys, and then me getting my tools as well. So that is, in a nutshell, pretty cheap, okay? Because I have heard, and a lot of my viewers have told me themselves, that they have gone to see other shamans and what were their costs to become their teacher. And it can be pretty high. It can be the cost of a used car, you know, like, you know, anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. So, you know, it's really gonna be based off of the lineages. No comment on how much they cost. Okay, so let's say you found your shaman teacher. Now what? Your shaman teacher, typically what they do to even see if they can be your teacher is if they can make you shake at their shrine. So that is the first sign. And, you know, some shaman teachers will even go as far as to make sure you can even start to hungo. Hungo is when, you know, I've mentioned this in other videos too, when the shaman does their chants, right? So some shamans, if they've discovered that the student or fledgling student, potential student, can't actually do the ngos, usually they will wait until the first shrine. After the first shrine, they will not raise you to your second shrine if you cannot actually do the verses. And, you know, and there's a whole bunch of spiritual reasoning behind that. The shaman teacher has to go into the spirit world and do all sorts of jazz just to see if maybe that's what's causing the student to not even be able to hungo. Now, of course, if you can't even do that, then they won't raise you to your second shrine and they'll most likely drop you as a student at that time. Well, at least that's what I would do. Now, let's say that, you know, you have your teacher, you shook at their bench, they've agreed to be your teacher, and you guys have already started talking the logistics. They're going to set a date for when to actually raise your shrine. During this time, you know, you need to start preparing to get all of your tools, everything ready to raise your shrine, and your teacher will actually address all of these things that you're going to need: the animals, the fee, the date, what to expect, what's going to happen, etc. Typically, it is a full-on ceremony first. Your teacher will do a ceremony to fix you first. Then they will actually do the whole ceremony of tying your spirit guides and bringing them down, everything like that. And then afterwards, after your teacher is done, it could be hours later, then the new student must then approach the bench in their own home, because previously they were on the bench of their shaman teacher at the shaman's house, the teacher's house, right? So now you are first time going to go into the spirit world at your bench, at your shrine, and this is really going to be done with everybody watching. It was, everybody was there at my first ceremony. I mean, this is my first ceremony of my life, you guys. You know, like as an adult, I'm hosting it myself. Everybody came because everybody was like, oh my God, we're going to see Tassie actually be a shaman. So yeah, it was a huge crowd just watching me. So there's that. But so expect, those are the kind of things to expect. Usually, as far as setting the date, usually your teacher is really going to be based off of their own schedule, because like I've mentioned in other videos, shamans, once the new year has passed and they have reopened their shrine, they pretty much get booked until the end of summer. It is pretty intense how many people come and book actual sessions and weekends. So, you know, hopefully you can get your teacher at a perfect time. I was thankful and I got her right when the new year opened. I didn't even know about the whole new year thing, that was such a thing. And I didn't even know that shamans, they close their shrines during certain times of the year. So if you happen to not be as lucky and you come, you know, towards the end of the year, you know, we're talking a little bit past August, now we're going into September, okay? Usually your teacher may ask you to just wait until the new year. And there's a lot of good reasoning behind it, you guys, okay? And so you're going to save yourself a lot more money if you don't raise your shrine until, let's say, January. Aim for January to February of every new year, you guys, because for Hmong people, our new year is around Thanksgiving. So around the end of November into December, that is when we are doing our Nopicho, which is your eat 30 days. you're, giving thanks to your ancestors, you're closing your shrines for the year. You send your spirit guides off for the new year before you pick them back up. Once you've picked them up, your shrine is still closed. Okay, the only time you can reopen your shrine is when you do a ceremony to fix yourself and your whole household. Then you're open for business. So with that being said, if you don't raise your shrine until the end of September or even in September, come November, you're about to close it. So you better hope you're on your third shrine by then. Because if you're not, you have to get more animals. It's more animals involved. At your first shrine, I'm going to say this because some teachers may not even have you close your shrine for the new year at your first shrine. Just because if you're still on your first shrine. So, every student is going to be different. Some people will be on their first shrine for years. It may take them years, you guys. Now, other people, they will emerge to their second level shrine during, the 6-month mark, 3-month mark. Not everybody is going to be as quick, and it all depends on where you at in your spiritual journey. So, I've done videos on that as well, and I've talked about that on how my own journey was too. So, that's why I personally would recommend, if you find out that you're supposed to be a shaman, take that time to discuss the beginning logistics, okay? Start making your plan. Do you need to get a house first? Where should you be living? Who is going to be willing to let you have a shrine up? I would never recommend a shrine in an apartment building because you'll find out. There's a lot that goes into the whole spiritual aspect if you live in an apartment. Even a duplex, you guys, because you're still sharing the house. So you have to deal with all the spiritual baggage of the other residents. That's why. And then you're noisy on top of that. That's really a lot of things that I would highly, highly recommend you wait until you have a house before you raise your shrine. If, you're really sick, and we'll talk about, shaman illnesses. So if you're really sick and you just need it up, okay, it's fine, but there's a whole ordeal of taking your shrine down later and then raising it up again. It's a lot of work, you guys. Like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's so much work. And it's very, very exhausting. So, because even if you close your shrine, because you're moving and it's the middle of the year, and then you raise it up again and you get all the animals involved again, and then now it's the new year time, you got to put it all down again. So you kind of have to think smart about this. Really, there is no major rush, I would have to say. If you have to wait a few months until the new year, around January, February, then proceed, you guys. And this probably sucks telling you guys this now because we're in October. Don't raise your shrine now. This is not the time to raise it. Now, sometimes people want to know about, what happens after you've raised your shrine? Now you're really on your own. You have your teacher, but really your teacher won't teach you personally a lot of stuff when it comes to the spirit world. They may ask you oh, tell me about, your sessions and how has it been going? Or especially when you start to do your own ceremonies after your second level, that is when you can start to do ceremonies in your own house, etc. And then they're really going to ask you, because they want to make sure you know what you're doing and that you aren't doing crazy things, because your teacher will ask you, and then for example, my own teacher, she would ask me and just check up on me, oh, so you've been going to the spirit world lately, how's it been going? What have they been teaching and showing you? And then during your ceremonies, my teacher actually came to my first ceremony that I hosted as well. And she really just watched and supervised and just made sure everything was going okay. Afterwards, at the table, I hate sitting at the table at ceremonies, you guys. I freaking hate it. She would basically ask me, what did I see? What did I do? What kind of issues did I run into? She would ask me certain things, really just testing and quizzing me, because this is to make sure I'm not crazy. I am doing things the way that her own spirit guides are saying, yes, she's going correctly, and this is what she should be doing. And there are going to be deviations on what you do. For example, one big thing that I noticed, my teacher and I, we reference things in the spirit world differently. because of the languages that our spirit guides are different. So, she might call something something else, and no matter how many times she tells me what it's called, I cannot for the life of me call it the way she does, because my spirit guides do not reference the place the same way she does. So that was news to me. I didn't know that. However, it was the same place. It was just called differently because of our different guides. That's why. And there are going to be a lot of students who have teachers who don't live in the same city or even state as them. And there are even some teachers who raise them overseas, you guys. Okay, so I'm just saying that I do know of among Americans who have teachers who live in Thailand. It ain't cheap, okay? Because you need to pay for your teacher's flight. You need to pay for their hotel, okay? Like, it is not cheap, you guys. So there is that, but, I'm going to say that, typically then you're pretty much on your own to your own devices. You have to go into the spirit world and do your own thing. If you end up struggling a lot, usually that's when your teacher will step in and assist, go into the spirit world, see what's going on with you. But pretty much you are on your own. And when you are ready to get to your second levels and your third levels, the time will come and you'll know, your teacher will also know. And then that is when, after your third level, now you're completely on your own. You can be a master shaman if you want and take on students of your own. Some shamans will choose to kind of like lay low on their own for a while, just to make sure that they are very secure in what they're doing before they're willing to take on students. Others will take on students immediately. It all just varies on your fate and what ends up happening, people you end up meeting, people who come to you for services, etc. Same thing with, when do people start coming to you for services? Usually it starts at your second shrine. So at your second shrine, you really know what you're doing now. You can do services for other people. And, among people, we don't really advertise ourselves as shamans. It's not common. Traditionally, it's not common. I'm not saying that it cannot happen, okay? Nowadays, shamans, they can advertise themselves, especially as they're younger now. They're more tech savvy. They can choose to advertise their services, So personally, I don't know any shamans who do that, just because the shamans I do know of, they like to be left alone. I think it's a trend, okay? But we tend to take on services first for those that we know, like in our own clan, our own family, our own friends. And then in time, through word of mouth, a lot of people start looking for you, and that's my own feelings. You like to be left alone, okay? Like, I've talked about this too in other videos, you guys, about what it's like when you have a lot of people coming to you for services and they don't know how to go home, and you haven't had dinner, and now you're like, well, I'm not feeding you, okay? Like, but I need to eat, okay? You might have eaten already, but I haven't. But really quickly, I just want to add a story. Back when I was a shaman and people would come over, and they don't tell me that they're coming over, right? I'll suddenly get this feeling that somebody's in my house, and I keep looking around my house like, where are they? Because I keep feeling it, but nobody's called me that they're coming over. Nobody's messaged me. So I have no idea that anybody's coming over, but I keep having this feeling that somebody's at my house, and I just keep looking around. But eventually they'll come knocking on my door, and I'm like, that's why I kept having that feeling that somebody was in my house, because my spirit guides are already telling me people are coming over. And the worst is when people are sick, okay? So in case you guys don't know this, for some shamans like myself, when people come over and they're sick, I start to feel your sickness. And then I start thinking, did I eat something? Did I upset my spirit guides? Like, why am I sick suddenly? And then as soon as they show up, the sickness goes away. And I'm just like, man, because I feel like I'm being punished. But it's because your spirit guides are trying to forewarn you that these people are coming because they have this kind of illness. And then as they're talking to me like, oh, they're sick, they're not feeling well, I'm like, sounds a lot like what I was just feeling. So, yeah. All right, so that is really pretty much what you would typically do if you are told you have spirit guides, you're supposed to be a shaman. That is one route that you can go to. It's the hard route, though. I'm not gonna lie. It is ridiculously difficult and very, very hard. I was just very blessed and lucky, you guys, that everything fell into place so easily for myself. Now, the other route you can go is you can choose to ignore it. You can choose to live your life and do whatever you want. Perfectly fine, okay? Typically, what will happen though is usually if you're born to be a shaman, you will be afflicted with a lot of pain, okay? Like, this is where the shaman illnesses come into play, okay? You will either have it occur to you, like myself, when you were a child. You know, it's like, so when I was a kid, I broke my wrists. I woke up one day and my wrists were broken. You know, and then I lost my hair. And I was supposed to be a shaman, but I just kept not doing it. And so these are all punishments that are coming down to you because you're supposed to do it. But, you know, as much as I ran from it and still running, you know, like, you know, it's a lot of inflictions will come to you and these kind of things will happen to you. Now, some people, though, be wary because everybody is meant to become a shaman at certain points in their life, right? So if you pass it, usually that's when they'll come and haunt you and make your life miserable and make you sick, okay? So then that is when even I would recommend just do it. Just do it, okay? Like, get it over with. It's not that bad. However, yeah, because usually when you've reached that point of a lot of illnesses, a lot of sickness, you know, and that has a demon on me, you know, it's like, they're all signs that you're supposed to be a shaman, right? I've found that they have an easier time going into the spirit world. Their abilities are very natural and it just happens and everything clicks, okay? Now, for some people, though, they're not meant to become a shaman until certain points in their lives. Most commonly found, it's going to be once you're married. That happens a lot to couples. It's very, very prevalent to couples because your guides know what you need in your life, so they wait for certain points to happen, and then that's when it'll happen for you. So if you're married, usually that's when, you know, suddenly you start seeing things, suddenly you start hearing things. And for some people, when you meet certain people in your life who are going to be there more permanent, now these signs will start to show up and come out as well, because now you have the support who can help you and be there for you. And then it gets your guides excited and then everything goes crazy. For other people, though, it will also happen once they've had their first child. So once they've had their first child, that's also a big sign when people will suddenly become shamans. So keep those things in mind. So even if you know, maybe you're single and you know that you have spirit guides, but you've been living fine. You've had no issues. You're not being haunted. You don't see ghosts. You don't hear things. You're going to be fine not raising your shrine, because the moment when you are supposed to do it will come. And I actually was talking to somebody recently about this as well, and they are already having signs of, you know, feeling spirits, sensing things, having dreams, etc. But it's not very, very extreme, such as illnesses, etc. You may have a ghost on you, okay? Like, that's nothing. In my world, that's considered nothing. But but the time isn't right. And when I was talking to this person, I could see their fate. And it's almost like a comet is coming to Earth. And when it actually touches, that is the moment. That is the moment that will happen in their life. And everything will open up. And they are supposed to be a shaman at that point. So right now, they are at where they're supposed to be. And they're fine. I'm so hot. See what I mean, you guys? I have a lot of candy. I always have snacks and candy by me, and I need to eat something right now, so sorry. I also have a box of Cheez-Its. And I have Cheez-Its. I haven't had dinner yet. All right. Now, the next part is going to be about if your guides are locked up. So first off, your guides being locked up and put away are two very different things. I have done a video on this before as well about guides being locked up, etc. So first off, put away. Usually that is going to be when there are children involved and parents, they're not ready for their children to, you know, decide, because they're not old enough to decide if they want to be a shaman. So then sometimes what parents will do is they will put their children's spirit guides away. This is very different from being locked up, sort of. Okay, so there's big differences in the spirit world. That's why. And usually what this does to the child, it allows them to live more of a normal life without having their guides really bother them, making them sick, etc., and forcing them that they have to raise their shrines. And so for myself, you know, nobody really could ever see that I was supposed to be a shaman until I was much older. And then I actually met my teacher and another guy who is some kind of shaman, and they were the only ones who's ever seen that I actually had spirit guides. So nobody else could have ever seen that I had it. When we were younger, my mom, she's taken us to see shamans as well. And even when I was really sick, I used to have these rashes that will hit my whole body because I have really scaly, dry skin, you guys. And so that shaman, she's supposed to be very psychic. She couldn't even see that I had spirit guides. And she was the one I was telling y'all about, that she was very biased towards my mother. And she was like, oh, you're having rashes because you're a bad daughter. And I'm like, okay, one, I know I'm a bad daughter. But two, Michael's standing right next to you and you can't even see him. So, you know, so there are those type of shamans out there who are very, and you know, this goes hand in hand with how I recommend you not going to shamans that you know sometimes, because they can be biased in their responses and they can't see it. That's why. Not sponsored. But the mini chews, these are my favorites. Now, I have also mentioned to you guys in other videos, personally, I don't recommend you ever putting your children's spirit guides away, okay? And this really goes hand in hand with the long-term effects on your child. Even though, you know, like, I know, like, for parents, especially, you know, when they're younger and their children are younger, they don't have a good grasp or understanding on how to deal or cope with spiritual stuff. You know, I don't blame you. And one of my biggest fears about having children is also that I know they're going to be probably worse than I was as a child. And really just dealing with that with your child, you know, like the nightmares, the, you know, seeing ghosts, hearing ghosts, you know, being bothered all the time. It's very difficult to deal with that when it comes to your own children or even somebody else, especially when you have no knowledge on what to do or how to help them. Because I used to worry about a niece of mine where, you know, my sister was freaking out and she didn't know how to help her daughter. And here I am as a shaman, and I'm literally like just praying that she will understand, that she will get through it, that she has to become, you know, you basically have to become mentally strong, because that is the type of guides you have. And they will be great for you in the future, but it's hard to portray and explain those things, especially to a kid who's just being haunted and they're just scared, right? So they need to break through. They need to mentally cope with it, and they have to become stronger, because that is their fate, you know. So I don't recommend putting people's spirit guides away, because it will affect them in the long term. They can go through bouts of depression, because even though their guides are no longer here to make them sick and that they have to become a shaman, they will feel what their guides feel, though. That emotional connection you can't get rid of. And so they will feel, some people will even go as far as that they were like neglected and that they were left behind. They will go through depression, and it will really mess them up, you guys, because they don't know why and what's happening. But you have these spirits that is a part of your child, and or even you, if this is happening to you, and you will always feel this emptiness until your guides come back to you. But then you're going to have a broken bridge, pretty much, because they were taken, and it was traumatic. They were never meant to be taken, but people choose to take them away. And, you know, so it's just like, I get it. I get why people do this, right? I am very fortunate this never happened to me, because I had the smarts to hide it from people that I was part crazy, you know. So I was just very fortunate that my guides would tell me to hide these things about myself from other people, because they won't understand. And it really made me better and stronger through time, because it, like, I woke up screaming all the time. It was just terrible nightmares, but I got over it. I broke through it. So all of that being said, when it comes to your guides actually being locked up, though, there's a lot that goes into that. So, you're going to have even shamans now who have guides that are locked up. So, some people might be like, well, why doesn't the shaman just go and get them? You can't, because, if you are on a journey and you got to get somewhere and I took all of your resources away, how are you going to get there? That's pretty much what it's like. Oh, I'm so hungry. I need food. All right. So with that being said, though, so when your guides are actually locked up and it's forcefully taken away, you will go through the same emotional aspects of when your guides are put away. However, I think at times it's probably worse, especially if you are a practicing shaman or you once knew what it was like having them. I knew a girl who went through something similar, and it was very, very, you could see the big differences in who she used to be, and then when her guides were stuck and she couldn't get them anymore, and how it changed her and how much it hurt her. It's like a loss of faith. It's a loss in everything, so it's very hard to see somebody go through that. She had made it all the way up to her third shrine, and then hell broke loose. And, it was just very, very, very disheartening to see the things that went on with her, especially because she's actually very gifted, very psychic as well. But it was just, it's night and day. It's crazy. So with that being said, what do you do if your guides are locked up? The only answer that I have for you guys from my own experiences is that you need to find a shaman who can actually go and get them. This is going to involve a very heavy task and journey. It's a very heavy task and journey, you guys. It's not as heavy as Kwanzaa, which is when you fix graves. Okay, it's not that heavy, but it involves very quick thinking. It involves other gods. It involves punishments. Like, everybody's going down at this level. However, that shaman has to be able to see that journey and get there and know how to undo the magic around the guides and then bring them down. It's just a lot of work, you guys, but you need to find a shaman who can see it, who can get to it, who can reach those depths of wherever they were put. And yeah, punishments are going down, you guys, and a lot of gods will be called during this hearing. So, you need to find somebody who knows the spirit world in that way, who can go in there and know the inner workings, know which gods to call and how to fight your cases. And it's like finding a lawyer for the spirit world. Pretty much, that's what it is, you guys. So with that being said, again, it's not usually, I'm just going to say this because it's like the elephant in the room. Sometimes you're going to have student and teacher relationships, and sometimes the student believes it's the teacher. So they won't go to their teacher because they believe it was their teacher who locked up their students. Usually, where does this come from? The students will start to have dreams. They'll start to be told these things by their spirit guides. They'll start to get feelings. And sometimes what they typically do is they go and seek out the services of another shaman while they have a teacher. This is usually where the main problems start, you guys. When you are still a student shaman and you like to go to a lot of shamans for services that's not your teacher. What I would recommend in those cases is just let go of your teacher. Go and ask the other shamans to be your teacher. And the reason for this is that when you don't have faith or trust in your teacher, they should not be your teacher. They shouldn't. And I know a lot of people are like, well, politics, that's fake drama. It's excuses, you guys. you just drop them as your teacher. If you don't trust them, if you're afraid of them, if you have fear of them in any way, if you believe you're only there because your parents or other people have forced you into this situation, that's not your teacher. Just let them go. And a lot of people are afraid of what their teacher could do to them in turn for letting go their teacher. But sometimes I feel like some people's fate, though, they're meant to go through that. It will make them a stronger and a better shaman. So I also know people who tend to line up teachers before they let go of their teacher. It's like finding a different job, pretty much, you guys. So, that's the elephant in the room. A lot of people are sometimes like, well, the strongest shaman they know of is their teacher, and they think it's their teacher who did it to them. I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying it's not, you guys, but definitely seek in those situations where you do suspect it's your teacher. I would highly recommend seeking out a multitude of shamans confirming this, you guys, before you really concede that it is your teacher. Sometimes you guys have to think about, in the world of shamanism, who has the most to gain by saying it is your teacher? Who has the most to gain? But then, you can look at the flip side. What do they have to lose if they tell you the truth, that it's your teacher? So I get it. But I've seen some crazy stuff go down, you guys. And that's really why I'm trying to warn y'all about this, okay? Just really, what will your guides tell you? What do you feel? A lot of times, even if people come to see me, I tell them all the time, whatever I tell you is what I'm hearing from my guides. You do not have to believe in it. You don't even have to go home and say, yes, she knew exactly what she was talking about. You can totally disagree with me. This is just what I'm seeing. So at the end of the day, whatever I tell you, it's a message for you. I don't care what the message is. It doesn't benefit me any. So if it doesn't work for you and none of it makes sense, go seek out another shaman, So just think about things. Be rational, you guys. Think realistically, because this is where a lot of issues start. And that's really, I feel like a lot of times with the monk shaman community, and I've had other people who are shamans as well. They also reach out to me. They have the same issues in their communities too. But anyways, I didn't mean to have joy in that moment, but they have a lot of same issues because magic is magic and it depends on how you use it, right? So in a nutshell, just think rationally as much as you can. Be smart about it. Don't always allow other people to influence you. Really listen to yourself, because your guides will not lead you wrong. All right. They are meant to protect you. That's what it is. However, if you have a crazy one on you, you might want to get rid of it. And that goes hand in hand with, your teacher needs to know when you're going crazy, because when you're going crazy, your teacher has to do something to help you. But some shamans, they want to listen to the crazy one. And the crazy one is telling you, no, your teacher is evil and wrong and wants to get rid of us because we're strong. It's just a hot mess. This is why I don't have students, you guys. All right, you guys. So that's it for this episode. Next week is going to be a Halloween special. And I think we're going to go into tarot cards. Until next time, you guys.